Good morning, everyone, and it's good to see you all here today. So, well, in past weeks, we've been discussing this work of Heihei Dogen, the 13th century Japanese Zen teacher. Uh, One of his, well, actually, his final composition, where he talks about um, one translation being the eight qualities of a great person, Hachi Dainen Gaku. So we've actually discussed these eight qualities. We discussed the eighth quality last week, but there are some concluding remarks of Master Dogen that I think it's worthwhile thinking about studying. So we'll go over those concluding remarks, and I'll discuss them a bit, and then we can discuss them among ourselves. So Dogen says, there are eight qualities of a great person. Within each, all the others are contained. Hence, there is a total of 64. From a broader perspective, the qualities are unlimited. However, in short, there are 64. This final teaching and guidance of our great teacher, Shakyamuni, is moreover the teaching of the Mahayana. This was the ultimate and final teaching given on the evening of the 15th day of February. Shakyamuni gave no further sermons and entered parinirvana. He died at that point. The Buddha said, monks, endeavor with all your heart to leave the six realms of delusion, all things that are alive, moving or not moving, all things that fall apart and come to nothing, cause one to feel insecure and ill at ease. All of you, for a while, just keep still and refrain from all speech. Now, my final moment is at hand. I am about to enter a nirvana that has destroyed all worldly cravings and delusions. These are my final words. For this reason, the disciples of the Tathagata all studied and practiced these eight qualities. Therefore, anyone who does not know and practice these qualities is not a disciple of the Buddha. This is the Tathagata's wisdom of the realization of having destroyed all cravings and delusions. Despite that, many today know nothing of these qualities. The reason so few have neither seen them, nor acted them out, nor heard them, nor talked about them, is that their hearts and minds have been preyed upon by demons. Few have laid deep roots in carrying out good because they have neither heard about these qualities nor seen them in action. In the past, during the time when the correct Dharma was practiced, or later when it was at least heard, these disciples of the Buddha learned and manifested these qualities through their practice. But today, only 1 or 2 out of 1,000 monks know of these eight qualities. It's truly a pity. There is no example of such deterioration of the Buddha Dharma as in our current degenerate age. The Buddha's true Dharma has spread throughout the world. You must learn and practice this true teaching before it disappears. To encounter the Buddha Dharma at any time, even over infinite eons of time, is rare. or to be blessed with the physical body is indeed rare. Though even born as a human being, though born in the societies of the East, West, and North, are of highest quality, and some in the Southern sphere are even superior to that. The reason for this is because they were able to see the Buddha and hear his words, to take leave of worldly affairs and realize incomparable enlightenment. There are those who died before the Buddha entered nirvana. Unfortunately, they were never able to hear about these 8 qualities, nor learn or practice them. Today, we have the good fortune to be able to hear this teaching and practice it, thanks to the roots of goodness that have been planted in previous lives. Therefore, it is critical for us to study and practice these qualities to expand their merit in each successive life, to realize deepest wisdom, and finally, just as the Buddha did, to expound their teachings for all sentient beings. So there are several themes there, and we'll touch on some of those. But I'd like to start with just the title of this Hachi Dainen Gaku, the title of this chapter or fascicle. Well, Hachi simply means 8, so that's not controversial. Dainen is a more complicated translation. It's translated here as a good person. Dai usually is translated as great or a great person. And sometimes dainen is used in contrast to shonen in Japanese, dainen being an adult and shonen being a youth or a child. So it has the connotation of being mature. Also, dainen is often used in Japanese texts to translate the Sanskrit Mahasattva, or great being, which refers to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So whatever these are, these gaku, apply to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Hachi Dainen Gaku. Gaku is used, in common speech to talk about learning or understanding. And in Buddhist context, it can refer to awakening or enlightenment. So these are the understandings of a mature being, these 8 qualities. Other translations of the title, 8 realizations of a great one, 8 understandings of a great person. So just to, as a reminder, these 8 items that were discussed in this text were having few desires, knowing one has enough, appreciating quietude, making diligent effort, not losing sight of the true teachings or dharma, settling in meditation or contemplation, practicing wisdom, and not engaging in useless argument. So these 8 items, one theme that comes up right away in Dogen's text is the the fact that they're related to one another. So he says there are actually 64 because they're all related to one another. Now, actually, if you look at 8 things, the combinations of 8 things taken two at a time is actually 28. But we'll set that aside, and the I think he's talking about how each of these nourishes or feeds or complements the other. For instance, if someone appreciates quietude, um, they are likely to have few desires. And of course, if they have few desires, they're likely to know that they have enough already. And if someone, for instance, appreciates quietude, they're more likely to be able to settle into contemplation or meditation. So these are 8 qualities that characterize a mature practitioner. A second theme that Dogen goes into, perhaps surprisingly, if you're not familiar with his writings, is how decadent his current age is, his current time in history. And indeed, um, viewing what was going on in Japan at the time, it's called the Kamakura period, 13th century in Japan, when a relatively stable imperial court form of government was breaking down in Kyoto. And that was the environment in which Dogen had been raised. That was breaking down, and there was the ascendance of militarism, of the shogunate in Kamakura on the east coast of Japan. So there were warlords who were essentially gaining power, and the traditional court was losing influence. So this was a major cultural, political change, and it was also associated with considerable bloodshed. So it's not surprising that Master Dogen would view his time as degenerate. He also thought the teachings had been diluted, I should say. Um, and the true Dharma wasn't really getting across now as it had in the past. And this refers to a theory that long preceded Dogen, that there are 3 general ages in in among the teachings in Buddha. The one is the first age when the teachings are fresh and people understand them and practice them. Shortly after, a Buddha appears on earth to reinforce these teachings. And then the next age is when people sort of follow the teachings pro forma, don't really understand them, but they try to abide by them without full understanding. And the third age, called Mappo in Japanese, is when really the teachings are lost. No one's hearing them, no one's practicing them. They're just not available. And then as the theory goes, there will be the appearance of another Buddha to reinvigorate the Dharma. So Dogen had that feeling of living in a deteriorating society. Perhaps some of you can relate to that. The the next thing that Dogen talked about, though, was uh, the urgency, the preciousness of having a human life and having access to these teachings. Having a human life so that you have the opportunity to practice the Buddha's teachings and realize one's true self. So, in that sense, we view these teachings as a precious gift, and this life, likewise, as a precious gift. He talks about leaving the six realms, and I won't go into that in detail, but in brief, there's the heavenly realm, the human realm, the animal realm, the realm of asuras or sort of warriors, warlords, the realm of hungry ghosts, people that are insatiable with appetite, and the hell realm. And it was thought that these were the realms that people could end up in depending on their actions, their karma. So he encourages us to practice in order to escape from these realms. The I think there are different ways of looking at what these 8 items are for. One would be to, sort of dutifully go through and try to keep them in mind and, in a way mimic them to essentially, well, I need to have fewer desires. I need to know that I've got what I need. Um, I need to appreciate quietude and just try to tailor one's person in that way. But I think to me, they're more meaningful as a map or a guidance. If, as we study these teachings of the Buddha and the teachings associated with Buddhist culture as the centuries passed, if we study these and think about them, reflect on them, contemplate them, not only in meditation, but just throughout the day, and then try to practice the teachings. Make a sincere effort to practice the teachings. That will, if in fact in doing so, we notice that these qualities are enhanced, that we're feeling more comfortable with quietude, for instance, that we're able to settle more into contemplation or meditation, that we find ourselves having fewer desires and not striving for more and more, then those are signs that we're on the path, that we're on the right track, that we're following the Buddha way. So rather than trying to mold one's personality to a particular shape, just to monitor what happens with study, contemplation, and practice, and see what evolves, see what grows naturally. So, these 8 things again: having few desires, knowing one has enough, appreciating quietude, making diligent effort. Dogen often refers to wholeheartedness. When you are doing something, when you've chosen to do something, do it with wholeheartedness, not losing sight of the big picture of the Dharma, settling in meditation or contemplation or reflection, practicing wisdom in our interactions with others, in our interactions with things, in our interactions with ourselves, and not engaging in useless argument. So I think I'll conclude there with a couple questions. One is whether you can relate to these things, whether these these qualities, in a sense, are something that you can understand appearing in your daily life, and whether any of them particularly resonate with you, or whether some of them are problematic for you. And what gets in the way? If these are problematic, what causes them to be so? What gets in our way? So with that, I'll stop and we'll go into breakout rooms. And I very much appreciate your being here today. And we'll see you next time.